For those of us who still are wrapping our minds around how much we are able to change the trajectory of others' lives. You know, when I was about 17, I had a friend who will go unnamed right now, but this friend was one of those friends that just very casual, and it wasn't really too deep for me, but for him, he expressed on numerous occasions, we'll say 2 or 3 occasions, that what I was relaying to him, right, what I was explaining to him, how I was expressing myself, was so profound that it shifted his perspective on life. Meanwhile, I was just a 16, 17-year-old kid, you know, in high school, just living life, trying to figure it out, unbeknownst to me, just like everybody else, right? Or maybe not unbeknownst to me, but to me, it was just like everyone else. But it seems like I process things very differently than other people do. So with that said, you may be one of those people too. And you know, it's kind of easy to take that, not for granted, kind of for granted, but it's mostly like, because we live with ourselves, we don't fully comprehend just how different we are to everybody else, you know. So this is for those of us who know now, right? We know now that as much as we want to take ourselves lightly, we are not to be taken lightly. And you know, I think part of that, now that I think of it, part of that may be because we don't take ourselves so seriously. This may be something that you're recovering from. I know that it's definitely something I was recovering from, and I'm still recovering from to a certain degree. Taking myself too seriously, right? Believing my own bullshit. And it seems like the more I journey into myself and make the sense of inner silence my home, that is when I really start being more lighthearted, you know. From a place of silence, it seems like the default setting is not seriousness, you know. It seems like when people think of inner silence, they may think of like a monk retired in the mountains meditating somewhere. And though that could be it, I feel like it's not. Excuse me, it's kind of late. It's midnight actually, and I'm in Miami Beach. I'm usually not out this late, but I'm taking myself out on a date. I went to the beach and it was lovely. But anyway, what was I saying? Well, yeah, being lighthearted, right? From a place of inner silence, it seems like it's much easier to actually come from a place of joy and laughter, because you see just how small everything is, right? Just how minuscule even our own worries are once we make it a habit to continue retiring ourselves into a sense of inner silence. You know, so I don't want this to be a whole thing about inner silence as if I'm some sort of master that you're learning about silence from. But I say all this to say that whoever this is resonating with, we have very clearly become a collective of people that is valued mostly behind closed doors, right? Mostly behind our backs. Because it almost seems like with who we are naturally, some people may think that we're fake even, Like, this can't be real. This person can't have that all put together like that. And I mean, to us, obviously, we know what is not put together in our lives. We know what is, you know, I don't want to say lacking, because I don't want to speak from a place of lack. But, you know, we know things that could be improved. But to others, it seems like that threshold is much lower than where we have it, right? And that's no disrespect to them. I mean, we could learn. Excuse me. We can learn something from everyone, right? A wise person can learn something from everyone. So can a fool. But usually fools are too foolish to actually retire themselves in a sense of inner silence enough to gain the wisdom from wherever it is or whoever it is. So yeah, we've become that collective of people that people talk about behind our backs, whether positive or negative. But in the end, whether they like us or not, they can't front in saying that this person is not gifted. Right? So if this is resonating with you, then I'm certain that you have become almost like a rock in, we'll say, a rock in your friend group, in your social group. You become the person that everyone runs to when they have an issue. Now, the dark side to that is you don't run to anybody. And if you do run to somebody, it's an internal, entity. It's your innermost self. It's your conscience, right? It's God, the universe, however you want to call it. We don't need to go back and forth on names and whatnot. But yeah, a lot of it has to do with our own sense of intuition and our own trust that we're being guided. We are being guided. And one of the most beautiful things about that is the more we trust that we are being guided, the more we see the signs of how we're being guided. It truly is a remarkable thing to notice about the human experience. Excuse me. I know this is like probably the third time that I yawn in one video, so please excuse me. I'm going to be heading home soon. But I just wanted to share this message to y'all so that y'all know, at the very least, that you're not the only ones. We're out here. We're out here, and we may not have a huge friend group, right? In fact, something about you may actually be turned off by friend groups, right? Large friend groups. Because you know that something about that is just so surface level, right? Something about that is so surface level. It's so like, there's not enough depth to maintain our interest in those sorts of connections. So that's something I'm definitely learning, is learning how to maintain the feeling of lightheartedness, right, from that sense of inner silence, so that I don't have to be so deep all the time, right? Some people they're not looking for that type of experience, even though that's where I live, right? I made my home in the darkness, in the deep, right? Speaking of which, I just came from seeing the ocean, right? And it was such a deep experience there. So with that said, I do hope things continue to improve for you. We do need to be mindful of what type of improvements we want to see in life, though. We need to use our imaginations in a way that is useful to us. So start imagining what changes you want to feel. Notice I said feel, not see. We need to prioritize feeling those changes above everything else. And then we act as if it's already here. Anyway, I do hope things continue to improve for you, and I look forward to sharing something else with you very soon.